Welcome to the rebirth of the Blunt Doctor Show. There's been a lot of different versions of this over the years. Stone Sports with the Blunt Doctor Show itself, Mr. and Mrs. Blunt Doctor on the WNBA. There have been a lot of different versions. But I'm back, and I'm in a heightened state of mania, and I'm now here to just kind of do my thing. Hopefully we'll get other people on. Hopefully we'll get regular guests on. But for now, I'm back on my bullshit. What can I say? I missed regularly talking about sports. I have had several different versions of podcasts in the past, typically following basketball and football. I struggle to keep them going because of depression issues, which is just the honest truth. But I'm going to tell you what, this show is going to be different. I'm committed. I miss doing this, and I'm just focused on doing what I want to do and be happy. The show is probably going to revolve around the NBA, but there will be WNBA, NFL, and just general sports talk. And there's going to be a pretty heavy dose of leftist politics here and there. Because here's the thing. I am a socialist. Still navigating the waters and learning about all of socialism and all of its, core tenets and whatnot. A lot of us are sort of newer to the movement. I've considered myself a democratic socialist for a long time without, being well versed on the issues. So you will hear me rant. We're not going to stick to sports here. So there'll be a little bit of everything. But for the most part, NBA talk. But that's kind of what we'll be doing. We'll mix it up. And again, I'll hope to get people on once there is a little bit more stability going. First thing I want to talk about is the happiest and most painful thing in my life at this moment. And that is the Bubble Suns. 8-0. A perfect bubble run. And, we all know what happened. Caris LeVert misses a 22-footer, and the Blazers go to the playoffs, and they defeat the Grizzlies in the play-in game. And that's it, because they got the 8 seeds, so the Grizzlies are out. I kind of posted my thoughts on Twitter the other day about this. But I couldn't be more proud of this team. They worked their asses off. They had one goal. You got to win all 8 of your games. They didn't get to control their own destiny. They didn't get a single game against Memphis and Portland. So essentially, you had to win 8 games pretty much against playoff teams for the most part. And then you had to hope. And we got a ton of help. We jumped 3 teams. So many things went the right way, but just not quite enough. And that was painful. I'll see that Caris LeVert jumper in my head forever. I don't think it was a bad shot. He damn near made it. It is what it is. And it sucks to be a Suns fan right now, but I think that we need to look to the future. Number one, I think it is clear that Mikal Bridges is going to be Chris Middleton. I mean that. I don't know if he'll ever quite be the offensive force that Chris Middleton is, but he can be better than Middleton is on defense. And I know that that's saying a lot, but it's true. This guy is a force of nature on the defensive side of the ball. And he's becoming a really damn good shooter, too. I mean, if he knocks down 40% of his triples and plays elite defense, you literally couldn't expect anything better out of the 10th pick. Honestly. That's truly, truly good. So, I really, I was wrong. When we traded up for Mikal Bridges, I was unhappy. I wanted Dante DiVincenzo. And I was wrong. I was completely wrong. And Mikal Bridges has been phenomenal. Just absolutely phenomenal. He has to start. The other guy that needs to start is Cam Johnson. I love Kelly Oubre. I really do. But Cam Johnson needs to start. The thing is, when Rubio, Booker, and Ayton played together this season, they won it like a 50-win clip. Bridges and Johnson are the perfect pair to play with those 3. This is not to say I don't want Kelly Oubre. I do. Kelly Oubre is perfect as an alpha dog on a second unit. The problem is I don't know how he'll take that. I don't know if that's something that he can really handle. So you just have to sort of feel your way out with that one. But Oubre only has 1 year left on his deal, so if he doesn't like coming off the bench, he may just leave anyway. So that is that. I love Kelly. I hope he stays. And I hope that long term he would accept a 6-man role, but I don't think he will. But truthfully, it's his best position. Mikal and Cam are really good off-ball players. And Kelly is just an on-ball player. He's better fitted as a 6-man than Mikal Bridges is. He just is. So that just is what it is. I'm not sure how he'll take that. I don't know if he'll stay long-term in that situation, but as much as I love Kelly Oubre and the energy he brings, there is no scenario in which I want to move Mikal Bridges and Cam Johnson out of the starting lineup. And by the way, the Cam Johnson pick was lambasted by basically everybody. And it has turned out to be a really damn good pick. Cam is a good player. Cam is a really good player. He is way more athletic than we were told. He is a much better defender than we were told. We were told this guy could do nothing but shoot. This is the same thing we were told about Devin Booker, by the way. Devin Booker's a shooter only. Cam Johnson's a shooter only. Well, that shit is not true. Cam Johnson played a lot of big-time defensive possessions for the Suns this season, and he impressed. I mean, yeah, he made mistakes, but most rookies are completely lost on defense. Is he older? Yes. Doesn't mean he doesn't have a good future in the league, especially the way he plays. I can see this guy being Kyle Korver with a little more defense and athleticism. To me, that's a scary player, and that's someone I want on my team. Ayton has continued to improve at a rate which most people just never would have anticipated. His ability on defense is... he has been lights out on defense at times, and no one gives him credit for it. Finally, we've seen some of the national media start to talk about it. Zach Lowe, for example. But man, has DeAndre Ayton stepped up his defensive play. And once he, EJ says it all the time on the Suns broadcast, once he stops bringing the ball down on every rebound and attacks the basket, and once he just gets a little bit smoother stroke on that shot, he's, this guy's going to be, 28 and 15 while dishing, 4 assists like it's nothing. DeAndre is special. And I don't think that people realize that the DeAndre Ayton, Luka Doncic thing is closer than they realize. Doncic is the better player. I'm not trying to say that, but Ayton has mostly owned him through their career. And when Ayton blocks Doncic at the rim to win a Western Conference Finals, I'm going to be celebrating that pick pretty hard. I'll be honest about that. On the play-in tournaments, I want this shit to stay. I love it. I know that it's a little bit like adding just a 9th spot, but with the having to be within 4 games and the 9th seed, essentially, you create a scenario in which teams that may have otherwise tanked the last 2 weeks or something aren't going to do that. I think we're going to have more competition. Making the playoffs or even making a play-in tournament matters to these guys. And so anything you can do that expands it without necessarily adding more playoff teams, because we already let more teams in the playoffs than don't make it, I'm for it. And I loved the play-in. I loved the intensity. I know that these were unique situations because of the bubble and because of, the pandemic and everything else. But I don't see why we wouldn't want to keep this. It's awesome. I love the play-in. And anything that we can do that... we got an 82-game season. It's long. I know it's not baseball, but it's long. And anything that we can do to add excitement down the stretch and to make those early season and middle season games even more meaningful, to me, it's good. So I'm for it. I keep it. I love it. I think the play-in tournament is a perfect way to sort of expand the playoffs without doing that. I just think it's fun. I loved it. Damian Lillard is bubble MVP. Well deserved. I have never in my life respected anyone more than I respect Damian Lillard right now. I hate that son of a bitch so much, but goddamn, I respect him. You know what I mean? I don't really know how else to put it. I'm watching this dude walk up and down the court exhausted bagging 40-foot triples like it's nothing to knock my team out of the playoffs. I hate this guy, but god damn it, do I respect the way he plays. Dame's awesome. And honestly, Devin Booker, I hope that he watches Dame and Dame's loyalty to Portland, and he says, I want to be that guy in Phoenix. That's really what I hope more than anything else. Because I know that they're not exactly the same style of player. They're both score first. Dame is, a little more always on ball. Booker can work off ball. But man, his loyalty, his intensity, his never say die attitude, his just ungodly shooting. Yeah, I hope that Devin Booker looks at that guy and says, I want to be the Suns' Dame Lillard. I hope he does. I think he probably does. But man, God, that guy fucked us. It's unbelievable watching him. But hey, I made money on the Blazers betting against the Grizzlies in the play-in tournament, so I'll take it. I will take it. That's another thing we'll talk about on this podcast a lot, probably is gambling. I love gambling. Anyone who knows me knows that, and probably anyone who's listening to this podcast knows. So I think that everyone kind of knows where I'm at on the gambling spectrum. And I think we need more gambling, and I'm going to talk about it all the time. So, all right, let's do this thing. Let's get to the NBA playoff round 1 picks. Round 1 is set now, given that the play-in tournament is over. We didn't have one in the Eastern Conference, but we did have one in the West. And so now I just want to talk about the playoff matchups as they are, what we're going to expect to see as we get into it. First one, Jazz Nuggets. Well, Mike Conley left the bubble because his son was born and Bogdanovich is out. So the Jazz are down. The one thing about this is that Mike Conley wasn't necessarily fitting in super well with the Jazz. I mean, Mike Conley didn't exactly he came around a little bit, but he wasn't having, shall we say, a phenomenal season. The fit was not as good as we all thought it would be. A lot of people thought the Jazz would be like true title contenders, and it really just did not look like that. Bogdanovich fit well. Bogdanovich fit very well, but you don't have either of those two right now. But I almost wonder if it's better for them. I just don't know that the Conley-Mitchell fit is as good as we thought it would be. Mike Conley, theoretically, is a perfect fit. He can play off ball. He can control the offense. He's a good defender, good passer, high basketball IQ, high IQ in general. Just doesn't work. Doesn't seem to work. And it's interesting because he's been the man in Memphis for so long. You wonder if taking away so much of his usage and making him, almost exclusively, a third or fourth option. Maybe he can't play out of rhythm like that. He needs the ball in his hands to be successful, much like Donovan Mitchell. And it just hasn't worked. But to be completely honest with you, I don't think that even if Bogdanovich and Conley were there and things were, I don't care. The Nuggets are going to win this series. They were always going to win this series. They're deeper. They're better. Coaching is probably about equal. Jokic is a better player than anyone on Utah. You could argue that at times Michael Porter Jr. and Jamal Murray both look better than Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert as well. So I don't really see much hope for the Jazz here at all. They're good in the regular season. They don't seem to be well constructed for the playoffs. This year, they don't have to get bounced by Houston at least, but I just don't see it. I don't see any chance. And I think the Nuggets will handle that one. 5 games, 6 games. I could even see a sweep. I don't think it'll be a sweep because, every now and then Rudy will just have one of those crazy defensive nights and Donovan will score 40. But I think this is a 5 or 6 game win for the Nuggets. I don't see much hope for the Jazz there. Nets and Raptors, we know what's going to happen here. Raptors are going to win that series. The Nets are basically down all of their top players. Karis LeVert has been awesome. He is a megastar in the making. It's going to be interesting to see what happens with Karis LeVert long-term, by the way. I don't know what the fit is with Kyrie and Kevin. I don't know if he's quite good enough as just an off-ball shooter, but he's so young. and Kevin Durant and Kyrie are both good shooters. You might want them to just go stand in the corners and let Karras work, but don't think those two are going to stand for that. I'm kidding, of course. KD is the best player of the last 5 years or so, maybe, with all of his finals MVP work and whatnot. In any case, that fit long-term is going to be interesting, but specifically related to this series, the Raptors have more continuity. They know exactly what they're doing. Pascal Siakam is easily the best player in the series. The Raptors are like a threat to win the title. Like, losing Kawhi Leonard has hurt them, but the way that OG Anunoby and Norm Powell and even Pascal Siakam, the way that he's taken his game to yet another level, and the way that Kyle Lowry somehow gets better as he gets older, like the old fine wine joke, but like literally, is very interesting. But the Raptors are going to make quick work of the Nets. That will probably be a sweep. As well as the Nets played in the bubble, I don't think anyone took them seriously. I think it has a lot to do with that. They play hard. That's about it. The Raptors play hard too. This is probably a sweep. Nothing more than a gentleman's sweep. There's no way this series goes 6 games. 76ers and Celtics. I have been saying all season that I do not like the way the 76ers are constructed. They do not have any fucking shooting. I'm sorry, but like Al Horford can't be your best three-point shooter. Josh Richardson can't be your best three-point shooter. And I know that they have some bench shooting, but their idea of what their starting lineup was going to be never made any fucking sense. Tobias Harris should not be like your best offensive player. And I admit I was wrong in the past. I thought that Tobias Harris made more sense for this team than Jimmy Butler. I did think that. And I was completely wrong. You got to be able to acknowledge when you're wrong. Jimmy Butler was the right fit on this team. I don't know that he loved playing with Joel. I don't know if it was all about money or if he loved the Miami culture. Who knows what it was all about. But the idea that a team full of no shooters, Simmons, Richardson, Tobias Harris is a decent shooter. Josh is a decent shooter. Simmons is not a shooter. Embiid thinks he's a shooter. Horford's an okay shooter. That lineup doesn't make any damn sense. I did not understand the Al Horford thing. I swear to God, the only reason that the 76ers signed Al Horford was to take him away from the Celtics. It makes no sense. It never made sense. It never made sense. It was poor roster construction. Elton Brand deserves to be fired. The shakeup coming in the 76ers this offseason is going to be unbelievable because the Celtics are going to win this series. They're a better team. They're a more cohesive unit. I think they're better coached. Jason Tatum is, again, the best player on either team. Kemba Walker is getting healthier each day. Jaylen Brown has again refound the form that made us all think he shouldn't be in a package trade for Kawhi Leonard. You know, all these things. The Celtics, they've got it going right now. They've got a good flow. They're a good team. I don't know if they're quite contenders. They're very good. And if Tatum gets to that next level in these playoffs, then who knows? Because Tatum is obviously a superstar and he's, as Tatum goes, the Celtics will go. So any sort of potential leap from the Celtics in this playoffs to true contender comes in the form of Jason Tatum and probably Jaylen Brown making, leaps and just taking their games to another level. And as Gordon Hayward rounds back into form, if he ever does, he has the potential to be an X factor because when Gordon Hayward does play well, the Celtics are really fucking hard to beat. Because with Marcus Smart, Gordon Hayward, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, Kemba Walker, you just start to reach a point where it's difficult. Now, one thing the 76ers have on them is size. Obviously having taken away Horford and with Embiid, but I don't see a way that the 76ers win this series. Unless, especially with Simmons out, unless Embiid somehow goes nuclear, it's just not happening. It's just not happening. The Celtics are going to win this series. It might go 6 games, but the Celtics are going to win. The Mavericks and Clippers series, this shit's going to be entertaining as hell. Entertaining as hell. I'm not sure. This may be the best first round series. Like, just honestly, this might be the best first round series. I know that we're excited for Heat Pacers and TJ Warren and Jimmy Butler. That'll be fun. The Blazers and Lakers. Everyone thinks the Blazers are a big threat to the Lakers. I don't think so. But I feel like everyone's ignoring this Mavericks Clippers series. We've got Luka Doncic and Kristaps Porzingis going at Kawhi Leonard and Paul George. How is that not fun? Lou Williams is a walking bucket. We all know, just how seriously Pat Beverly takes everything. This is going to be an awesome series. An awesome series. It might go 7 games. Rick Carlisle is such a good coach. Doc Rivers is such a good coach. This is a chess match. It's just going to be awesome. The Mavericks don't have enough defense in the end to compete with the Clippers. And so, ultimately, the Clippers will win this series in 6 or 7 games. But this is going to be a more fun series than we think. And I think this is going to be that series that makes people question the Clippers and their actual championship medal, if you will. But it's going to be really good for them to gel and face some adversity. This series is going to help the Clippers, even though there's going to be a couple of games where they just totally blow it. Because they will. They will. It's going to be a 6 or 7 game series. But the Clippers will prevail. I do think we're going to have a Clippers-Bucks final, by the way. And I think the Bucks are going to win the finals. I've said Bucks since before the season. I'm not changing now. I've been back and forth between the Bucks and the Clippers. I never really believed it would be the Lakers. There was a while there in the middle of the season where the Lakers were kind of humming, and you thought maybe, but I've been a bigger believer in the Clippers. And I do think we're going to have a Clippers-Bucks finals with the Bucks winning. Magic-Bucks. This series will be fun. The Magic might eke out one game, when they just somehow bomb oblivion from 3. The Bucks want to let teams shoot threes. We know that. We've always, Zach Lowe has always said, essentially that their analysis is they're going to make more threes over a series, over a 7-game series than the other team is. Now, that didn't come true with the Raptors last year. But Zach Lowe has always said that the Bucks, strategy for the 3-point defense is simply about, their simple belief that over a 7-game series, they'll make more. But that allows for the possibility of the Magic having one hell of a game and just bombing them out. So, it's possible, again, that this series could theoretically, I guess, go 6 games, but I think the Bucks will make quick work of the Magic. Heat and Pacers. Normally, this would be a series that, I don't even know how much would we care about Heat versus Pacers normally. But the TJ Warren, Jimmy Butler thing has ratcheted this up. TJ Warren played awesome in the bubble, became the scoring machine that he was supposed to be coming out of college. And we know Jimmy Butler is Jimmy Butler. Ultimately, though, Miami has a better coach in Eric Spoelstra. And I believe more in the Heat than I do the Pacers. The Pacers have been kind of a fun, exciting, surprising, fun success story, whatever, over the last couple of years, but they haven't really been, they're not like a contender. And, with Victor Oladipo still not being Victor Oladipo right now, and no Sabonis, you just sort of, the Pacers are well coached. Nate McMillan has done a good job. It's a solid organization, but the Heat are just a better team right now. Jimmy Butler, Duncan Robinson, Bam Adebayo, it's a good team. It's a good team. And I think this series will go 6-7 games. The Heat are not going to make quick work of the Pacers in any way. But the Heat have slightly better shooting, I think. Their defense is better. And I would rather I think you'd rather rely on Bam Adebayo than you would Miles Turner in a series like this. And I think that matters. Thunder versus Rockets is going to be very interesting. The availability of Russell Westbrook in this series could matter. He's going to miss game 1, and he could miss more time. So that really could affect what goes on here. It's tough to say. You just never know at times how these things are going to play themselves out. But even if he doesn't come back, I would be very hard pressed to believe that the Thunder are going to win this series. I mean, they've done so well But, I mean, James Harden is just the best player on the court, for sure. And the Rockets are simply built completely around the way he plays. It's interesting watching Russell Westbrook kind of take over at times and be the engine. But I still have to believe the Rockets are going to win this series, but it's going to be a close one. I will say if Westbrook doesn't come back, then the Rockets are in trouble. But I mean, James Harden can score 70 with like it's nothing. So we know what he can do. The thing about the Thunder is that even though they're really good at the top, Chris Paul, SGA, Danilo Gallinari, they have like no depth. And this is not to say that the Rockets have depth, but the Rockets never play with depth. Mike D'Antoni doesn't care about depth. He never has. He's always run an incredibly short rotation dating back to his days coaching the Suns. So it's not shocking or, even atypical for the Rockets to play a short rotation. And I just don't know that the Thunder have the depth for a playoff series. And in a lot of scenarios, this is going to essentially come down to who makes more triples. And I think the Rockets have better shooters. I'm so here for Chris Paul versus James Harden, though. I think we're all here for that. And especially if Russell Westbrook is out, that really does put more of the onus, the burden on James Harden to get the job done. But for my money, he still will. I think this Thunder team is good. This is the one series I'm taking the Rockets in 7. But if the Thunder upset the Rockets, I wouldn't be shocked here. I mean, it's still Chris Paul, but I think the Rockets, with their ultra small lineup, with Covington and Tucker kind of manning, the front court, that's going to cause problems for Steven Adams when he is in there. You're going to pull him away from the basket. He's got to chase guys around. I think the Rockets are built to beat the Thunder. But if this went 7 games and the Thunder took it, I wouldn't be shocked. The Thunder are so good in the clutch. Chris Paul and SGA especially have been unbelievable this season. The X factor for this series may end up being Dennis Schroeder because he gives the Thunder some of the depth that they lack. He gives them the punch off the bench. So it is possible that the Thunder win this series. This is probably the one that I'm least confident about my pick in. But I would still take the Rockets just because I do think having the best player on the court is the most important thing in the playoffs. I think that the Thunder are not built to shoot with the Rockets. And I think that once Russell Westbrook is back, I mean, do you really think Russell Westbrook's going to lose this series to the Thunder after the way that all ended? I don't see that. So I definitely see this one going 7 games, but it's a Rockets win. And then the final series, Lakers, Blazers. To be completely honest, I don't really understand why everyone is saying the Trailblazers are such a good matchup for the Lakers and they're going to cause such problems. Has anyone been watching the Blazers play? Like, they're not that good right now. Dame Lillard and CJ McCollum just willed their way to the playoffs. They made tons and tons of ridiculous shots. They might bomb their way to one victory here. I don't know. But just truthfully, the Trailblazers are not a match for the Lakers right now. The Suns, as constituted, are a much better matchup for the Lakers. The Suns are healthy. They have depth. They play their asses off. They would have been a much better playoff team. But the Blazers had a better start to the season, and Dame Lillard simply would not be denied. But this idea that the Blazers are going to cause problems for the Lakers, I'm sorry, folks, but if you're thinking this is the Western Conference Blazers, it's just not. This is not that team. I know that, having Zach Collins and Nurkic back makes us all kind of want to, they can cause problems for the Lakers with their set. No, they can't. This series is going to be quick. It could be 5 games. It could be a gentleman's sweep. I suppose that is possible. But I would just, dollars for donuts, I put it down. Lakers are going to sweep the Blazers. Everyone, even I'm down on the Lakers right now, right? The Lakers haven't looked like themselves. But also, I'm sorry, but I don't buy this. I just don't buy this. I think the Lakers were in a malaise. They're ready for the playoffs now. I don't see LeBron losing to the Trailblazers. I don't see LeBron and AD losing to Damian Lillard and CJ McCollum. I just don't see it. Again, maybe one game, maybe a gentleman's sweep. But in my opinion, Lakers are going to take this one. That's pretty much it for this first episode. Working the kinks out with the audio. and, getting myself back into podcasting form. Just want to get my playoff picks out there. In any case, this is the Blunt Doctor Show. Don't forget to check out bluntdoctor.com, read my absolutely ridiculous blog, blah, blah, etc. Come back next time. Let's talk some more basketball.